Hello and welcome to Where You Not Entertained. I'm Daniel.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm James.
And we are going to be discussing Love and Monsters today.
Yes.
I think this is, I say this every time, and I can't actually remember, but I think this was another one of those that was actually made for theaters, but was released straight to streaming services.
Yeah, and I'm going to say that it was sort of, I guess, I don't know if I should say underrated or just underpublicized. I don't really remember hearing anything about this before I saw it on Vudu.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Because I was worried I was the only one. I was like, this one totally slipped under my radar. And it's kind of my style of movie.
Yeah, I think I had remembered, and this came out October, so it was late in the year. So definitely not definitely. At that time, I guess they were putting stuff in theaters, but I don't know if it hit the theater or not.
IMDb does have it have $1 million gross in the U.S.
Oh, okay, so maybe it did, but definitely not one that I had really heard of. So before I watched the movie, I watched the trailer because I was curious, and some of it seemed kind of familiar. So maybe I had seen it like on YouTube or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't ever remember like the full blown trailer or me going, "Ooh, I want to watch that."
Yeah.
But we did watch it.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about it.
And glad to have seen it. From a poster, I was a little curious and a little unsure if it was something I wanted to see, but yeah, no, definitely glad to have seen it.
Same.
Yeah.
And there's so much that I was kind of worried about going into this movie. Not going into it, but the first half of this movie. And by the second half, it had been mostly redeemed. And I pretty much enjoyed this. I was entertained. And there were a lot of things, like the visual effects, that I was blown away by. I was not expecting to get that quality
Right.
in this movie.
Yeah.
I expected them to be much lower quality, more sci-fi channel quality.
Yeah, exactly. It was so it's a very sci-fi movie, so I wasn't expecting like big budget necessarily. But I was actually very impressed with the monsters, as they're called. And yeah, the quality of the CGI and not even just that, but kind of the personality that some of them had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the writing was definitely better than I expected. This doesn't feel like a made for streaming or something like that. And I don't see anything about the budget, but it definitely did feel like a big budget.
Yeah.
Sort of theatrical.
I mean, some money was spent on this movie.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely was. And they're recognizable names, but not huge names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought, the acting was good. The writing was solid. None of it felt cheap or anything like that.
There were a couple things. So, spoiler alert, let's get it out of the way.
Yeah.
The ending was not quite satisfying. You can tell by the eyes. When did that take place? That had never been a thing before. And there's I'm going to take a chance on this crab and break it free.
They
and
talked
hopefully
about
it doesn't eat me.
Did you fall asleep? Were you chugging a drink and you missed it?
Maybe I missed it. Yeah. What was that? Correct me, please.
Yeah, that was in his monster training.
Yeah, his monster training.
Okay.
Yeah, so when he started the journey and he came across the two other survivors that were making a trek.
Clyde and Minnow.
That was one of the things that they taught him, is that I think it was when they gave him the
Was it
shirt.
the rock snail?
It was the
Yeah.
They made him take off
or
the shirt.
boulder snail, I think is what they called it.
Boulder snail. That sounds right. But made him take off his shirt and put it on the snail.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was like, he was asking if it was really dangerous, and they're like, yeah, it's really dangerous, but these are very gentle. You can usually just tell something in their eyes. So that's kind of where that came from.
Okay.
Because some of them, even though they're monsters, I mean,
they're animals that are mutated.
So what's happened is they're insects and animals and things like that have been mutated into being huge creatures. And so, yeah, I wouldn't really suspect a snail as being like some killer man-eating beast. So it would make sense that there would have to be some that aren't like just out for
blood,
for eating flesh,
or they eat plants or decomposing stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where that came from, but I think that's kind of what spurred that on.
Gotcha. And then the crab went immediately to go eat all of the people who had held it captive.
Yeah. Good for you, crab.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's fair. It was they were shocking the crap out of him.
That is true.
Yeah, I'd be a little pissed off myself.
And it was some good revenge.
It was.
Well,
nom, nom, nom.
Who didn't want to see those people get eaten anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did feel a little kind of... I don't know. I don't know what the right word is. Fantastical?
Sure.
It was almost like a storybook ending. Like there was kind of a tone it was a different tone than the rest of the movie for me. It seemed like it was a change where it went from barely escaping these really dangerous situations to kind of going with the flow and taking the most dangerous risk of all and it paying off. And then I also was a little bit like, I don't know. I didn't really feel like him and Amy getting together at the end was like kind of what I wanted for the character by the end of it.
Yeah.
And so it kind of felt, I don't know. I guess for me, what I'm saying is it felt like the ending was almost like a studio ending.
I mean,
like, how they make it change it so that it fits the, what's more appropriate for a large audience. It kind of felt like that. Like there might have been a different ending intended.
They didn't really get together though. I know what you mean, but like it's not how it ended.
Yeah, I mean, fair. I mean, it's not like they got married.
He basically went, cool, saved you. Oh, I still love you. That's nice. I'm leaving. And walked home.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't exactly do it that way. He had to go back and save his tribe.
We didn't have to, but yeah,
I love those people. They're his family.
Yeah, exactly.
There's colony.
Yeah, and I think that was like the result of the trip is that he realized what they were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Home is.
It was definitely a coming of age to a degree.
Yeah, I think it's kind of geared towards families. It's a family movie, right? I mean, it is PG-13, but it does seem more family oriented. Yeah,
it does have a broad audience in mind, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's kind of their goal anyway. It seemed like an action adventure, some comedy,
maybe the Jumanji crowd.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty fitting. The Jumanji crowd.
Yeah, it's not quite as humorous. It has more of a positive tone, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's
not
trying to kind of purvey a message more than Jumanji really is, but
I agree with that.
Yeah. For me, from seeing the preview and the poster, I was hoping for like Zombieland, but with monsters. And that's not what this turned out to be.
No.
It was still really good. I was expecting it to be a little funnier and a little less conventional.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, it was still good. It was still very entertaining and enjoyable.
Yeah, and it has funny parts for sure.
It's like you said, it is more family oriented than I anticipated.
Yeah.
I think those are some of the parts that I like most about it.
Right. Yeah.
Like I kind of went into this not expecting it to be great, just because I had heard so little about it. I mean, I had heard it in passing a couple times, but I hadn't actually like dug in or seen anything or had anything overtly displayed to me. So it seemed like there wasn't a whole lot of marketing, like we said.
Right.
So I didn't have really high expectations going into this, but man, yeah, there's some good stuff that I liked. It's not perfect, but I was definitely entertained.
Definitely. And the fan score is really high on this film, too.
Yeah. Got pretty middling critic scores.
Yeah, which I think is to be expected.
Yeah.
Fair.
A movie like this. It was good to see Dylan O'Brien in another kind of big budget film.
Yeah.
I really liked him in the Maze Runner movies.
I was happy to see Jessica Henwick. I loved her in Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
She was the reason why I liked that series.
Well, let's not forget Michael Rooker.
Always good. Period.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that there might have been some things kind of left to be desired. Maybe plot wise, like how it wrapped up. But I do think that overall it was an enjoyable movie. I was entertained as well. I enjoyed watching it. I think the premise of it was actually pretty good. I thought it was kind of cool. Where they have the Earth has been taken over by giant creatures, and he had this girlfriend that he had hoped had survived and called around everywhere, and then finally found that she was alive.
Yeah,
and took an 85-mile trek through the perilous woods.
Yeah, kind of to discover that they're not actually as perilous as, like, they are perilous, but
I was going to say he almost died a couple times.
it's more possible to navigate than thought.
Yeah, I think that had a lot to do with he had no idea what to expect, and so expected the worst, and everybody else expected so little of him.
Yeah, exactly. And he just happened to run into some awesome teachers on the way.
Very true.
Without that, he would have been dead.
Yeah. One thing for me was it was a little creepy to be making a trek like that after 7 years.
Yeah.
You did it, what, like 6 months when you were 17, and now you're 24, and you're like taking the journey of your life to,
well,
without asking her.
Yeah, that was granted a little presumptuous, but
yeah, and they bring that up.
Yeah, they do. It makes sense though when everything is gone, and that's something that still exists and you can hold on to
when you have so little to hope for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, memories are really easy to build up.
True.
Yeah, she didn't have the same problem.
No.
Which is why it was presumptuous of him to make the trek.
Yeah.
But it was great that they did. He got to learn. He got to build the little handbook basically, and now everybody's leaving their shelters that are being overrun and going to a hopefully safer place
up in the mountains.
Yeah. Sharing his knowledge.
Where the something and something are going to get him. I don't remember what they are. Some sort of ice creatures.
Yeah.
Some snow creatures that are going to kill them. That they didn't bother. I guess they didn't know about, so they didn't tell him about.
Yeah, I guess, or they were trying to convince them to go with them. So mentioning the snow monsters is probably not your best path.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. That's fair. Say no. Okay, fine. You'll find out when you get here.
Yeah. You'll be with us. You'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, was there anything else we wanted to discuss before we got into our favorite scenes?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. You want me to go first this time?
Sure,
Absolutely.
since you want to.
Sure. My favorite scene was the scene with the Mavis.
Okay.
But instead of a I, it's a 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked the robot scene a lot. I mean, it kind of was set up earlier when, they bring up a robot that used to be a thing and then he's never seen one that worked before. I was like, oh, so we're going to see one that works later on. But at the same time, like it was the emotional beats of the movie. That was the point where he started to doubt the reason why he left in the first place. And he started to reflect on how much the journey had changed him and started to realize that maybe he was formidable enough to go up against the dangers of the real world.
Right.
Yeah.
And I loved the way that it was presented because it was so softballed in with the style of a robot like that that's intended to be personable and likable. And so,
right.
It starts off with, what do you think will happen? And he says like the exact dream, that she's going to be so impressed by the grand romantic gesture. And then, or maybe she won't, and she'll have moved on or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or maybe third option, you won't even make it and you'll die a horrible death on the way. And just kind of the slow degradation of some of those fantasies that he had. But at the same time, he had worked so hard to get there that he'd grown up so much. It was a good scene. I appreciated it. And then it had the cool jellyfish. Those were awesome.
Those were
I like jellyfish.
Floating jellyfish.
Yeah, those are cool.
That don't kill you.
Sky jellies.
Yeah. That don't kill you, again, I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Something that actually doesn't murder you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're pretty and you don't kill me. That's nice.
Yeah.
Ironically, because you're most likely to die out of all the animals, most likely to die from jellyfish in real life.
Right. Yeah, ain't that fun?
Yeah, fair.
No, that was a good choice. I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
I think it was good that they had that in there.
Yeah.
Is kind of some of the humor.
Exactly.
But as a robot, you don't have to have the character flaws. Right? You're just a robot.
Yeah, and robots work for exposition or like changes and stuff like that in the character because the character doesn't have to have a front in front of a robot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and can be presented different points of views without feeling attacked.
Right.
So
it's true.
Well, what about you, Daniel? What was your favorite scene?
Mine is actually the toad scene. I think it was a toad, frog, toad, frog.
In the pool.
In the pool,
Yeah, that was a toad.
Yeah. It's only my favorite scene because of the dog.
Oh yeah.
Because I think he's an absolute idiot for just standing there and looking at this pool bubble up. Like,
yeah,
dude, there's something in there.
Something's wrong.
You should get going. The toad was pretty cool. Like,
it was really cool.
Yeah,
that's where I was like, okay, these monsters are gonna be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I really liked how it moved, how it came out of the water. It just kind of sat there for a second and then bloop, spit its tongue had to have weighed like 50 pounds.
Right.
Yeah, that was a serious toad.
It just bowled that fence over that was right behind him. So the toad was really cool, but the fact that the dog came kind of to save him, to show him where to go to hide, and had apparently lost its owner, which is unfortunate for, I guess, the owner and the dog.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder how long the dog had been without food.
I was also wondering if we were ever going to see the owner again.
I was curious about that at first, and then I wasn't.
Fair.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, so the dog had such an attachment to what was that? It was the article of clothing. I forget what.
Oh, the dress.
The dress, yes.
Red dress.
Had such an attachment to that dress that, you know, once we kind of got to that point where I'm taking the dress and you're going to follow me,
Mm-hmm.
that the owner's gone. Because if the owner was still around, the dog wouldn't have left.
Mm.
And so that was kind of where I was like, meh. Once we've kind of left that realm,
It's also a movie, so
yeah, anything could happen.
yeah, they may not have adhered to those rules as well.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I like the dog that came and saved his life.
It's a damn
Couple
good dog.
times.
Boy was a great dog.
Yes, boy was a great dog.
Good scene. No, love that one too.
Yeah, that was a good one.
What about you, Rachel?
I'm gonna have to go with my favorite scene was anything with the dog in it.
Anything with a dog in it.
Yeah, the dog was such an interesting. It was interesting to see a character learn from a dog in a wilderness setting like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is such a post-apocalyptic, otherworldly thing that you just like. The dog must have adapted much faster than his human companions.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
if you're just going to wander through the woods.
Yeah,
Just chatting
because it's
loudly, stomping
not
on
like-
everything.
It's not like the dog could have been trained to do that with these monsters. They seem like a relatively new development. So,
Yeah.
but and having the dog save him, and then later on him turn around and save the dog
Mm-hmm.
when he sort of finally finds his courage and willingness to shoot,
Yeah,
if you will.
Yeah.
I liked that.
the dog was good.
The good boy.
dog. Good
Yep.
boy. Yeah, exactly.
Did you steal food?
I know.
I had to say that one time in this podcast.
No, why does everybody ask if I stole food? It's fair.
All right. Well, then I think that just about wraps it up for Love and Monsters, right?
I think that does.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed our coverage of it. If you did, please go online and like and subscribe, and make sure to join us next time on Were You Not Entertained?